Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Let's get to it. The first stabilization point after the conjunction. Welcome. You made it. Returning new subscribers, welcome. Members of the channel, shout out to y'all. I am Goddess High Priestess Empress Alala Bandera, here to work at a structural level, building correctly, assisting you all to do so from the ground up, through taking responsibility for what is real, establishing order where there has been instability, while translating what feels abstract, unseen, or difficult to name into something functional. Here, as a collective, vision becomes architecture, intuition becomes strategy, the unseen gets anchored into lived reality. This is diagnostic work using astrology, numerology, and divination systems to examine timing patterns and decision points, identifying where structure is required, where distortion has entered, and what must shift so movement becomes deliberate instead of repetitive. During the lives, I offer clarity checks, alignment sessions, or past life sessions. All that information is in the pinned comment. For those of you who already know a live session will not reach deep enough, I offer one-on-one Zoom sessions. These are private, structured conversations designed to cut through the noise and establish direction with precision. For deeper, comprehensive work, I offer the Journey of Life analysis, an in-depth one-on-one session that maps patterns, cycles, and authority across your life so movement forward is intentional rather than repetitive. So in that sector, we also touch upon one's Akashic records as well. All in all, this space is for individuals ready to take responsibility for their direction and create results that are sustainable, not temporary. And as a warning / reminder, this is not a space designed for comfort. This is a space designed for alignment. What happens here is not performance, it is clarification. Anything built on avoidance, distraction, or borrowed direction will feel pressure in this environment. Not because it is being attacked, but because it is being revealed. The fire here is functional, does not exist to overwhelm you. It exists to show you what is strong enough to continue and what is not. If you came looking to be reassured that no changes are necessary, this will feel confronting to you. If you came prepared to stand still long enough to see clearly, then you are exactly where you must be. We are moving through the opening of a new cycle collective, one that rewards coherence, responsibility, and decisive movement. Vision must take form. Insight must translate into action. Anything, anyone fragmented will not hold. It's not about force, it's about precision. You're not being asked to rush, but you are being asked to stop negotiating with what you already know. As we are at that evolution point, specifically stabilization, some of you will recognize this as pressure that you cannot withstand, while others of you will recognize it as direction. Listen for what is being shown rather than what you expect to hear and how you expect to hear it. The signal is clear. Let's get going. With this moment of the 21st being the first stabilization point after the conjunction, this moment is not about the shock of change anymore. It's more so about aligning with how to stand inside the new cycle that just began. The exact Saturn-Neptune conjunction has already occurred. The eclipse has already reset direction. Now the sky is showing what happens immediately after a structural shift. Basically testing the balance. This is the phase where identity reorganizes before visible movement begins. While the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and the North Node remain in Pisces, the clearing is still active with this Pisces emphasis, which keeps the atmosphere in dissolution even though Aries has already ignited. This combination may create a, slightly strange internal experience of awareness having to move differently, paired with the strong instinct to pause, reflect, or even for some of you, withdraw. This is intentional. Pisces is dissolving motivations that would contaminate the new Aries cycle if carried forward. Because you're not meant to act from habit, pressure, or fear of missing momentum. The internal compass is recalibrating. Saturn and Neptune in early Aries, the new identity is basically bare, not finished. Where now Saturn and Neptune are now separating slightly, yet still extremely close. This is basically the moment when vision and reality begin negotiating terms. The identity forming now should feel simple, stripped down, less performative, more direct. You may feel less interested in explaining yourself or proving anything. That is Saturn removing excess while Neptune keeps purpose meaningful. The moon currently at the end of Aries. This is emotional urgency meeting maturity. Because when the moon is at a late degree, it adds emotional heat, but it's not meant to drive action. It is exposing instinctive reactions so they can be seen clearly. Therefore, you may notice flashes of impatience, desire to move quickly, frustration with slowness even. Yet, because the rest of the sky is Piscean and Saturnian, acting on those impulses will feel off. That friction is a nervous system reminding you of a new timing. The emotional body is faster than the structural shift. However, it will catch up. With Mars in Aquarius in a square to Uranus and Taurus, this speaks to the rewiring as to the way you take action. Mars desires to move forward. Uranus disrupts familiar pathways. With this square still active, this is basically old strategies no longer functioning smoothly. The forcing of productivity leading to inefficiency. Candle popping is 144. Innovation must replace repetition. Because this is not a green light to be a rebel. It's more of a signal to redesign your method. $144, $13.13 on the timer. Ooh, love to see it. Acting differently is required. Acting impulsively, certainly not. Jupiter retrograde in Cancer, that is bringing in the energy of expansion that is still happening internally. And this is up until the 11th of March, okay? And with it not turning direct just yet, the growth continues through reflection and not outward expansion. Again, this is where you reassess what truly supports you, what home or foundation means now, and what emotional patterns shaped past ambitions. In these messages, you may notice that you're hearing a repetitive verbiage when we're speaking into the energies of the astrology. Perfectly so that way it registers for you. Okay? When Jupiter turns direct in March, movement becomes easier. For now, strengthening the base is more important than reaching outward. Mercury conjunct Venus, being both in Pisces at a very close degree, and then trine to Jupiter because it's in Cancer, values and understanding are quietly aligning. And this is what brings one of the most stabilizing signatures present. Thought, feeling, belief, and vision are syncing. where conversations are clarifying direction, values feel simpler, decisions become less complicated. It's more so the vibe of calm recognition rather than dramatic insight. Because the new cycle is not about discovering something new. It is about accepting what has already become obvious. Now, the Saturn, Uranus, and Saturn Pluto sextiles are building change that lasts. These supportive aspects are actually very critical because it means that the transformation that is underway is not chaotic and it can become sustainable. Innovation, Uranus, or also the Tower card, can integrate into structure. So a sudden revelation or a sudden shift in your environment or reality can now easily be integrated into structure, where you're not losing your shit when something doesn't go your way per se, or something all of a sudden shifts for you. The deep change, Pluto, now can become a daily reality. This is basically the way a new era shifts quietly rather than explosively. Collectively, the best word to express this current moment, the 21st, the first stabilization point, is orientation. Remember, we spoke about this already. You're not deciding where to go. You are noticing the way you must stand before going anywhere. There's a less tolerance for noise, distraction, or artificial urgency. Energy now desires to consolidate, especially with coherence forming. So rather than initiating something new in this energy, align with what it supports. And that is simplifying commitments, observing what consistently holds your attention. That's a big one here. Observing what consistently holds your attention, adjusting routines to match your actual priorities, adjusting routines to match your actual priorities, allowing clarity to settle without forcing conclusions, allowing clarity to settle without forcing conclusions. Small yet deliberate actions are more aligned right now than big gestures. In this moment, the 21st truly belongs to the new Saturn-Neptune cycle. Not the announcement, not the announcement, but more so the adjustment. The era has officially changed. Now it's all about the way you inhabit this change. The work now is not about dreaming or reacting. It is aligning behavior with the reality already forming. So for you, Aries, you are stepping into recognizing the difference between force and authorship. Action now must come from clarity, not reaction. If you move too fast, Aries, you fracture momentum. If you move with precision, Aries, everything aligns behind you. Define who you are through behavior, not declaration, Aries. Taurus, stability is being rewritten from the inside out. What once felt secure may feel heavy, while unfamiliar paths feel quietly correct. Release attachment to permanence, Taurus, and build systems that can adapt without losing integrity, Taurus. Gemini, your mind is entering a long recalibration. Noise is losing appeal. Signal matters more. Speak less, observe more, and let understanding reorganize before broadcasting conclusions, Gemini. Your power now comes from discernment, Gemini. Cancer. Foundation first. Foundation first. Foundation first, Cancer. Expansion later. Cancer, you are redefining what support actually means emotionally, physically, materially. Strengthen the base, Cancer, of your life without announcing it. Because your growth depends and will come from this grounding, Cancer. 151. Leo. Expression is shifting from performance to embodiment. Leo, you are not here to prove vitality. You are here to live it consistently. You are not here to prove vitality, Leo. You are here to live vitality consistently. Leo, you are here to live vitality consistently. Let actions carry authority instead of seeking recognition, Leo. Virgo. Refinement has entered a deeper layer. Virgo, you are no longer adjusting surface habits, but restructuring how you allocate energy itself. Virgo, simplification is advancement. Simplification is advancement. Simplification, my beautiful Virgos with your analytic self. Simplification is advancement. Virgo, remove what drains precision. Libra. Balance now requires transparency, not accommodation. You are aligning with the essence that harmony cannot exist where truth is edited, Libra. You are aligning with the fact that harmony cannot exist where truth is edited, Libra. You are aligning with the fact that harmony cannot exist where truth is edited, Libra. Stand clearly in your position and let relationships reorganize around authenticity, Libra. Scorpio. Transformation is becoming practical. Scorpio, this is less about emotional intensity and more about sustained change. This is less about emotional intensity and more about sustained change, Scorpio. This is less about emotional intensity and more about sustained change. Scorpio, power grows through steady application, not dramatic reinvention. Sagittarius, direction is replacing motion. Sagittarius, wandering loses appeal when purpose becomes tangible. Wandering loses appeal when purpose becomes tangible, Sagittarius. Wandering loses appeal when purpose becomes tangible, Sagittarius. Choose a trajectory and commit long enough to see results unfold. It's giving Eight of Pentacles energy for you, Sagittarius. Focus on one thing at a time. Perfect the fuck out of it. Basically, shoot that arrow, hit that target, and go from there. Capricorn. Structure is being redefined, not removed. Structure is being redefined, not removed. You are building frameworks, Capricorn, that support meaning, not just achievements. You are building frameworks that support meaning, not just achievements, Capricorn. You are building frameworks that support meaning, not just achievements. Capricorn, authority now grows from alignment rather than endurance alone. Authority now, Capricorn, grows from alignment rather than endurance alone. Aquarius, your vision now must become livable. Your vision now must become livable. Ideas that cannot function in daily life are dissolving. Translate insight, Aquarius, into systems people can actually inhabit, especially with your futuristic ways of knowing things. Yeah. Translate insight into systems people can actually inhabit. Pisces, you are closing a long personal cycle. Pisces, sensitivity becomes strength when paired with boundaries. Allow endings to finalize without rescuing what is already complete. Pisces, allow endings to finalize without rescuing what is already complete. Pisces, allow endings to finalize without rescuing what is already complete. Ophiuchus, integration is your role in this passage. You stand between endings and beginnings, translating insight into embodiment. Walk steadily, others will orient themselves through your composure. Collectively, this is a season of inhabiting rather than seeking. Less searching, more aligning, less announcing, more building. The new direction is found not through urgency. It is revealed through sustained presence. Now we're going to go into some collective messages just to check on the vibes for what we got going on here. Do I have to read that? Let's see. Welcome all. We about to get into the collective messages to lock down this frequency. Let's go. Ashe. Move forward. It's the moment to move forward. Card number 23. The shift is already in progress. The new era has already come to a change here. Act with care. One more. What we got here? Awaken. Beautiful. Let's see. One more for the collective here. Wow. Showing up again, huh? Okay, so this is basically the energy of some of you that are still catching up, because right now, even with the Saturn-Neptune reset and the eclipse recalibration, emotionally, some of you are still catching up. Things could feel a bit disorienting or raw still. Because the conjunction has rewritten the blueprint, the eclipse cleared the field, and the moon shifting right now is why you actually feel where to stand. So, because the way the moon is changing, most times, most lunar ingresses when it goes into another sign, specifically right now what we're talking about is from Aquarius, the solar eclipse into Aries. Most lunar ingresses are just mood changes. So this one is different because it followed a 0-degree planetary reset, which is an Aries activation, which means that this moon, instead of it just changing the tone, it's actually teaching your nervous system how to function inside a brand new rhythm. Act with care. Move forward, but act with care. Before this shift, basically, people may have felt suspended between endings and beginnings. Motivation came in waves but didn't stick, and insight without traction. Now, after the shift, emotional reactions have become less dramatic. Decisions may have felt less loaded, and you now find yourself no longer, questioning what already became clear. No longer questioning what already became clear. That's what makes it stabilization and not so much excitement. What is actually stabilizing here, and where, this message of moving forward and do so with act with loving light, or acting with care, not being so hard on yourself, especially going from one world or one era to another. What's actually stabilizes not so much your plans or your outcomes, it's more so the internal pacing. Basically allowing yourself to no longer feel pressure to figure everything out at once. Where you also begin to notice that actions feel smaller but more correct, more in alignment. And the urgency from the eclipse window has faded a bit. And you start doing instead of processing. Because this is the moment where the new era stops being philosophical and starts becoming behavioral. So in terms of acting with care, some of you can see a shift within your sleep cycles. Because first and foremost, that's what the moon governs. It governs habit loops, sleep cycles, hunger patterns, and emotional regulation. So this type of shift often shows up physically before mentally. So now you could sense that your sleep is becoming a little bit more normalized in a sense. Some of you could be having appetite changes or returns, the desire for routine again, and having a much more stable nervous system where your energy is more even across each living day or rotation, because this is your system and allow it to do so. This is your system exiting crisis adaptation mode. Okay? So again, don't treat this moment of stabilization, the window of stabilization, as a launch moment. This is more so a calibration phase. So reintroduce simple structures such as the time of rising, how many hours you're utilizing when it comes to working on certain things, creating structures around movements, making sure you're giving your body the ample necessities in terms of being able to handle this shift in energy as well. Choose consistency over intensity. Begin one contained task and repeat it daily. Allow rhythm to rebuild before ambition expands, collective. Now would be a great time to avoid announcing major decisions, overloading schedules, because energy has returned, even if just a bit. Avoid mistaking emotional relief for readiness to accelerate as well. Because right now, what's happening is you're actually gaining traction. That doesn't mean you floor it. Don't be flooring the gas right now. Okay. Just, oh, okay. Because from Aquarius to Aries, before it went into Aries, it was more so the vibe of, oh, I know something is different, but not really knowing the way to move about it. Now is more so no longer thinking about it. You just handling what's in front of you. And that's the energy of stabilization, where you handle what is in front of you without overthinking, or not even not even having to think about it. So let's see. Let's get some moon cards and angels and ancestors. There goes Shorty. There go the star of the show that always loves showing up. Yeah. That is hilarious to me. Be open to healing information. The medicine guardian, the medicine mother, they've been rolling through here. Yo, step out of your comfort zone. North Node. Ah. Mind you, where the North Node is right now. What is it? It's 9 degrees. The jockey. El jockey. Yeah. You know what makes a great jockey? A jockey does not control the horse through force. It works with momentum already in motion. So here's over the next 60 years, because the year of the fire horse is not just the energy of this year, it's a whole 60-year cycle. So for the next 60 years, don't waver, because here's the thing. A jockey must commit fully once the gate opens, because you cannot pause mid-race talking about you about to reconsider some shit. Now you get the point in regards to Neptune being in Pisces the past 13, 14 years, and Saturn in Pisces the past 2 to 3, 2.5 to 3, helping you to remove these illusions that would cause you to feel that you are committing to something fully to then reconsider mid-race. Now, this could also be something where it has been learned from childhood as one was being raised, where you may have been around people who were caregivers or guardians, and without this knowledge, it seemed as though it was okay to take action on something and possibly reconsider it because of some underlying issue that even influences that way of moving after one has decided to go towards this or towards that. Because for many generations, you know, there wasn't this freedom to do what it was that one actually desired to do, and more so having to do what was just enough to survive. But now, collective, that's not you. You're starting a whole new cycle. So this is why it's important to get to the bottom of certain emotional patterns that influences your level of ambition or the use of ambition. Because sometimes one can be ambitious about doing something, but it's more from a survival mode or placing walls around oneself. And it's not coming from a space where you're just flowing with creativity. It's more of a vibe of constantly having to look over one's shoulder, in a sense. For some of you, this could be also having to do with the disconnect to the solar plexus, having to walk on eggshells based on the way you express yourself. And whatever cultural backgrounds or belief systems you come from in regards to the way communication happens between child and grown-ups, supposedly grown-ups. Really don't desire to use the word adult because that's a whole nother topic. Okay, so let's see something here. And I'm really getting here more so what moving forward with the essence and lessons of the shadow. You know, a jockey overall, how does a jockey win? Well, a jockey wins by alignment, timing, responsiveness. This horse here to keep in mind over the next 60 years as well. You're not here to build the horse. You are here to ride the force already moving through your life. So the moment you begin to overthink, collective, this is when you fall off rhythm. When you respond instinctively, things accelerate. That's why I keep telling y'all, watch that movie, Secretariat. It's a pretty amazing movie. Big Red. Clarify, move forward. Be brave and honest. Ooh, wee. Yeah. Emotions are catching up to the body. Things are still a little, just don't allow yourself to be dragged though. Because some of you are having to get more comfortable with moving forward without explaining your direction. I don't know who this is you feel as though you have to explain yourself to, but it brings up this heavy, anxious, a dose of fear, a dysregulated gut type of energy when you feel as though you even have to do this or you're rehearsing what it is you have to say. It don't seem as though you're free. And I'm not sure why that's happening for you. Not so much why that's happening. It's more so why are you allowing that to still be the case? That every move you make, you over explain the direction you're going because you don't trust yourself. That's really the reason why that'll happen actually. When you don't trust yourself, okay, so the same type of battle that's happening with who this is you're over explaining yourself to about your direction is basically a reflection of the battle you have within yourself when it comes to making decisions and then having to reconsider right when you go through the gate. You have to stop doing that. Book a person and we can work you through it. This is collective, but I sure did pick up on that energy just now. 220, 320 over there. 320 lexicon wise, it connects to the word end. It must end. Before Aries season comes. Okay. You have to allow in allowing this to end, for some of you, this means when something is ending, stop attempting to rescue it. This could be you explaining why something is ending. Some of you here also have to get this notion of having a conversation to seek closure. The closure is within yourself. So is the forgiveness. Forgiveness is actually a selfish act because it's for you. It's to bring you back to you. Selfish in the sense that you're doing things to get back to you, not the way most, perceive that's what the word means, where you are disconnecting from people in an arrogant type of way. No. When you're truthfully in the essence of being selfish, it's because you've recognized you have poured from an empty cup for way too long. And now you have to get to a point where you are at least something like self-ish. Something like. Ish represents something like, which is not fully all the way there as to what it is. You go from a state of selfish to being self-full. Because being selfish ain't a thing either. 50-55 on the timer, real talk. So, it's time to engage transformation instead of studying it. And the way to do that is to allow intensity instead of interpreting it as danger. Act with care. Let's see. The medicine guardian and medicine mother are twins. Anyway, wow, this lines up beautifully. Act with care and be graceful in movement and action. Take it step by step, steady. Rock steady, easy. Steady, rock easy. You got a shallow and master a knight. These are highly skilled energies that reside within the shadow to move forward with this skill set, the ability to wield universal energies, because that's the whole purpose of a knight's suit. That whole armor that they wear, it allows them to wield the electricity that flows through the universe to direct it in whatever which way one desires to do so. We're going to look and see what this is. It's time for you to move forward from, that you have to be brave and it requires courage. So confidence. So solar plexus is a strong point here. Okay. Let's see world within worlds before we bring this back around. World within worlds. Unleash the wild within worlds, okay? You're obviously a leader of the pack or your lineage or your current generation. Don't let the past hold you back is on the other side. And then we have trust and thrive. South node, living in the south node will actually put you in the essence of trusting slightly, but in survival mode, not in thrive mode. Okay, what's this? Hold your vision. 5353 was on the timer. Now, worlds within worlds. Unleash the wild world within worlds. You're going to have to move forward here without someone. You have to move forward here without someone's approval. You're going to have to move on here without someone's approval. And I'm also getting that this level of approval could be from a previous version of yourself. Very similar to a jockey that goes through the gate and then decides mid-race, oh, I don't want to continue racing. I don't want to be in it. Nah, you got to keep going. You got to keep going. Yeah. Hold your vision. Don't let the past hold you back. Hold your vision. Intend and create. See, by spring, you have to do, it's time to take action. You cannot make this shit up. I just told you before April 320, you better do this. What does this mean? Unleash the wild within this world, the wild factor of yourself, which means you being more than okay with people who don't get where you coming from or what you have to do or why you move the way you move. Again, this is the vibe of somebody who, you could also be a high priest or high priestess type of energy, especially with the high priest showing up here. You have to have the balance of both the light and the dark. The happy-go-lucky without rage and all this other stuff that does with blocking out essence of the dark side you are not a high priest or high priestess without embodying the light, without embodying both light and dark. You have to have balance of both, but there's a way of wielding that intensity of energy. Because some of you possibly get in conversations with people who can't withstand information that you have, and it may appear to them as intense. Here's the thing. When you are someone who is truly connected to the mysteries of life, the truth of life itself, what makes you think you're going to be able to operate through that without the essence of what others may see as too aggressive, this, that, or whatever? You have to have the balance of both, because them energies within that dimension that are protecting that information or preventing people who are actually coded with such information, but protecting that space so that way others won't get into it because they're so fucking greedy with it. You mean to tell me you gonna sit here in this loving light energy, call yourself a high priest or high priestess? That's not the way that goes. You have to have both sides well balanced, which is why that path is not for all. It really ain't. Now, it's not saying, you know what I mean, being arrogant, all that other shit or whatever. No, it's just more so you must have an understanding of how powerful this information is and what it means to embody it, to have access to it, to therefore use it. Okay? So, with that level of balance, it allows one to move with actual care and be graceful in movement and action. Because when you're not balanced on both sides of the spectrum, you're going to get chewed up every step of the way, attempting to be something one is not. And the same thing happens when you're sitting here around people who don't understand what it is that you are familiar with, and that is okay. But the issue becomes when you are continuously surrounding yourself with these frequencies, and now their energy is now becoming an influence towards what you do and the way you move. This is why solitude and isolation, for those that are taking it to the next level as, yeah, it's spiritual warrior energy. Warrior priestesses and priests. That level of solitude is very important. So that way you have to have a very strong mind if you're going to be around certain frequencies, that because energy is just that powerful. You already know it can't be created nor destroyed. It's just constantly being transmuted and transcended. So you have to be mindful as to when to step in, when to step out, especially when it comes to being around lower frequencies or lower dimensions. Let's see. Show me more about this. Show me more about move forward here for the collective with this Knight of Be Brave and Honest. and it comes out. Yep. So I'm not going to repeat what I just said. And the Fire Guardian. There's obviously something that you have a passion for. Again, that is, it's beyond this time. And you're conversing about this with someone who is willing to remain complacent or average. And guess what? Shout out to Six. They may even say that you're being mean. But when you look at the word mean, that is equivalent to average. So when you are somebody who truly embodies the dark and the light, those that are imposters will either call you too aggressive, mean, and call you mean because they want you to be just as average as they. You're going to have to move forward with the shadow and the light. And realize those who can't stand the fire you come with. Allow them to remain in their average ways. Love and let yourself be loved. Be devoted and committed. Love all of you. Don't expect anyone to love you the way you love yourself. In fact, that possibly won't be fully met because you are you and they are them. It's that simple. Be the light. Look at this beautiful embodiment right there, both of them together. Be the light and trust in higher forces with the shaman energy that's literally having to do with the death and a rebirth. Going through those dark phases with grace, especially when you're not allowing external influence who decide to remain average. And complacent. Into a tough cycle approaches Cancer season, full moon in Capricorn. Retreat and recharge. Okay? Balance spirituality and practicality. Step out of your comfort zone. And the comfort zone could also be an environment that you're in where people are okay with being complacent. Clarify world within worlds with Unleash the Wild Within. Grow within the current situation. With trust in the unknown. Wow, that's the beautiful pair there. And great teacher, learn from spiritual experiences. Trust in the unknown, learn from spiritual experiences, grow within the current situation. Oh, my head is tingling. 6622. Grow within the current situation. Unleash the wild within the current situation. Unleash the wild within the current situation. Okay, what's this? And then the druid. Actually, these two to go together. The druid and the wise one. Hold space. For your vision. Let's see here. Wow. Release the old and rest. Very intriguing to see this druid energy and then a raven at the same time. Ravens and crows are very significant messengers here for you at this time. The code is in the amount of times they call out or call out. Where they may call out 3 times, pause, then 4 times, and pause, then 5. That those amount of times, that's the code or the numbers that they're giving you. Okay? With that being said, I'm gonna move these over. And we're gonna get us a Celtic spread here to get more information about this current situation. I'm all in. Show me the current energy. And patience shows up again. Something you have to be patient about right now, huh? It's patience is not waiting, is what you do while you wait. Final process of the healing phase. Putting things to rest. This could even be you. The higher self is requesting for you to express gratitude from what you've healed from to complete the cycle, to integrate the lessons significantly having to do with one-on-one relationships that were mirroring an identity that you are now releasing. Okay? And the challenge. Challenges, what we've been discussing here, moving forward with integrating the shadow. Dang, I didn't even realize this was at the bottom of the deck either. 414 to 418, that's 4 of Wands. You know what it is? Okay. Because sometimes when some of y'all hear shadow, you think of it as something that is possibly not all of you. However, take this as a grain of salt. So, the shadow for some of you is still connected to a perception of a lower dimensional way of expressing darkness. You can sit here and say no, however, the way you move, different. It's that's what's the energy is showing me here, that you're moving differently than what you actually know. And again, the current sky that we're under, it's literally removing the gap between what you know, believe, and the way you live. 1444 on the timer. So what the shadow actually is, it's authority that you have not used that's still sitting in a dark room, basically. That's the truth of it. And that level of unused authority, it comes across as this would be where you, there goes act with care, where your reactions tend to judge yourself, where the way you react to self is more so judging yourself. This is also connected to where you were possibly told you were too much. This is why I said sometimes people decide they want to be in your environment and in your space, and when the truth of who you are, they actually get to see it, they can't stand it, and they want to move in a way where they are looking to shift the way you move and all this other stuff. Those are the type of people or energies that are connected to a certain entity that is of a side that has nothing to do with growth, evolution, and the ascension of this planet, let alone with the ability to operate in universal law, because they live from that mentality of right or wrong, good or bad, with the false sense of understanding intentions. So don't allow these type of energies to, you know what I'm saying, project their lack of knowing and come across as saying, oh, you're doing something that's too much. It's too much for them. So they need to keep it moving. And these are the situations you have to disconnect yourself from so you can move forward with integrating the shadow, because it's coming up as a challenging position. And it's important for you to utilize this authority moving forward. Allow your talents to do exactly what it's intended to do, to disrupt expectations of others. Do not hold back on your talents or bury them because they disrupt someone else's expectations. Never. And these are the traits that are coming up to the surface from the unconscious, especially during this Pisces influence, along with the Aries activation, where these traits are demanding to be expressed in real life. Some of you, just your presence alone, when you integrate and move forward with the essence of your shadow or unused authority, people are going to naturally feel exposed around you. That's none of your business, though. Because instead of spiritualizing what is required to be embodied, there's no more of, you know, put it this way, one will not have the opportunity to transcend a trait that was never integrated due to the fact of spiritualizing what must be embodied. You cannot discipline parts of yourself you refuse to acknowledge. So right now, in order to move forward, you're going to have to tap into these raw instincts that is actually appearing as your psyche is reorganizing. Because when it comes to illusions about who you thought you were are dissolving, raw instincts are literally appearing. And it's up to you as to the way it functions moving forward. This is why this is not about identity construction. It's more so emotional processing, and why you're not becoming someone new. You're taking the lid off unused authority. Authority. I almost said it that way. Now, how do you know to cut through this challenge here? How do you know you're actually integrating the shadow? Well, you have a less tolerance for pretending. You begin to recognize certain patterns that you used to rationalize. And this willingness and desire to change behavior rather than explain it. Where you may even have certain responses that are strong, that feel unusually clear, even. This is basically Saturn taking material from Neptune's ocean and giving it form when it comes to your identity in the sign of Aries. Now, the true work is to assign your shadow a role that it's literally been waiting to be integrated and to move forward with you. Where now anger becomes more boundary setting, control becomes leadership, sensitivity becomes perception, detachment becomes discernment, intensity becomes endurance. And when that intensity shifts into endurance, you're going to notice who can't keep up. Where you used to slow your pace down just so they can catch up. We ain't doing that shit no more. Because every time you reject the shadow, it puts you in a position of sabotage. When you give it structure, it becomes power that is connected to the higher self. And now you locked in with your higher power as an extension of all that is, a true extension of all that is. Because this is exactly what this Aries cycle is demanding before we even step into the sun, exposing and giving more vitality and life force to the energy of Aries when we go into Aries season. All the background work is happening now. All the infrastructure is being put into place. For some of you, this particular situation could have something to do with from Cancer season up until now. So since June of 2025 till now. Cancer season, but the moon could also be Pisces. And then we have Sagittarius, so all of them embody Cancer all the way to Pisces. Moon, Jupiter. And Jupiter right now is retrograde in Cancer, which is expanding your emotions that are even connected to the way you utilize the shadow. What's prevented you from doing so? Or assigning it the role of boundary setting, leadership, perception, discernment, and endurance. Hmm? Some of you, the shadow has you in a challenging position because you're over analyzing your reactions. You respond to a situation that you over analyze, and it makes that response a reaction. Some of you are, sitting here labeling yourself as broken or regressing. Stop doing that. Or attempting to purge certain traits too quickly. You don't get rid of the anger. This is what I'm saying. When you are tapped into this frequency of the mysteries of life, the occult, whether you call yourself a priest, a shaman, or whatever, you don't actually let go of anger and all this other stuff. You more so transmute it into its higher power. To step away from those frequency entirely, you're a fraud. Don't allow yourself to be influenced by average, complacent people who can't keep up, who don't have endurance. And this matters greatly, especially with Neptune that's going to be in Aries for over a decade, the next 13 to 14 years. Which means your identity must include a full spectrum of self, not just the acceptable parts. Those of you who stabilize now will move through the coming years with clarity. Those of you who avoid this level of integration, you will feel the constant friction between who you are and the way you live. Where now you're experiencing unnecessary self-inflicted fatigue. Look at that solar plexus energy right there. That's that decision-making, courage energy right there. Let's see what's at the foundation of this. Let's look. Mars in Capricorn, controlled ambition. So we have Temperance as your current energy. The Moon as your challenge. Mars in Capricorn, recognition and reward as the foundation. Let me see what's in the immediate past before we dive into that. The sacral chakra. Okay. Now, this is dope. Because currently you're going through a process where you are regulating, okay? And there's a blend of instinct, discipline, emotion, and action. So that way, none of them hijack your system in a sense. Allowing the pace to create power. So that way, extremes don't scatter it. With the moon here, the challenge is to make sure you are not getting pulled back into reacting instead of responding, seeking reassurance, or over identifying with feelings as truth. However, the moon right now is not in this position, is not authority right now. It's more so your challenge has everything to do with what is still running on memory rather than intention. So the challenge comes with being able to feel without handing over control. And right before this comes out, the solar plexus card peeps out, which is also a significant reminder here to you all, because the solar plexus is connected to your will, strength, and courage, self-expression. And with Mars and Capricorn at the base of your spread, this is basically the energy of disciplined will. No theatrics, no emotional leakage, just sustained execution. This is basically you doing the work even when your mood isn't aligned. Building something that outlasts motivation, channeling raw drive into structure, which is basically showing the way the current energy is being expressed physically. You don't balance a situation by thinking about balance. You balance by repeating controlled action. This is realigning with your authority. When you are holding yourself accountable and more so in charge of your direction, this is where now temperance could become part of a practice, where recognition now becomes a byproduct of the coherence, where now you can trust yourself because you're being more consistent. Now, this is where being brave and honest will come into play without you having to have a discussion about your direction. Because this level of energy is going to be so powerful that it's going to be stabilities that other people around you can feel, where your actions basically influence more than your actual words. So let's say if you are sensing restlessness, emotional swings per se, or the urgency to create or connect, or let's say experiencing frustration without an outlet, temperance with Mars and Capricorn is basically how you'll be able to refine this sacral surge. So it's important to not suppress the sacral energy. Give it a channel to build, train, create on schedule, move the body with intention, because unchanneled sacral energy easily becomes anxiety. When you direct that sacral energy, it becomes creation. So this is a part in regards to the immediate past. This is energies from the past where you may have stalled or suppressed that sacral energy, and what led into anxiety or heavy focus on the future with ways of the past. It's a whole different type of quantum entanglement right there. So it's important right now to feel everything without letting it steer. Direct your energy through disciplined action. Maintain steady regulation as far as your current energy, because that's what the wise one has said there, to grow within the current situation. And you become the wise one once you master Saturn's lessons. And as you maintain a steady regulation with temperance as your current energy, let recognition emerge from consistency and utilize the sacred force that in the past you may have put aside as fuel for creation. A way to do that is do something at the same time every day that moves your work forward. And before you make any decisions, move your body. So you're not, acting from an emotional peak. Take action once you're settled. This could just be something as simple as a walk, or you can walk on a treadmill, on an incline. Just make sure, you're moving your body before you take action, basically. So that way you can create space for energy instead of waiting for inspiration. Because it's important right now to become, one who energy is usable. Okay. Now let's see what's crowning the energy and what's next in your advice. What's crowning the energy? We have trapped in fear, Eight of Swords, Jupiter and Gemini, with, let's see here, a change in the wind, number 12. What's next here? The Magician, awareness, with intuition, the High Priestess, and financial material changes, Five of Pentacles, which is Mercury and Taurus. Your advice, wow. The Magician and the Mirror, 53, with strategy, 21, one more. Wow. The crown chakra and regeneration, crown vibes with card 46. So let's look. And then you got Healer of the Ages and Bliss. We'll get to that once we discuss what we see here. Every time this comes on, it makes me think of Love in This Club, Usher, the way it starts. Anyway. Hold on, let me put them here. Trapped in fear at the forefront of your mind, a change in the wind. Out here being average. Better stop that shit. Let's look. Now, with this showing up here, it's the current state, but let's keep this in mind, that this is not the truth of the situation, okay? Because the Eight of Swords is more so having to do with mental confinement. There's no actual external prison. It's just restriction that's coming from interpretation or anticipating something or overanalyzing. With the influence of this being first deacon Gemini, therefore connected to Jupiter, this could have to do with you having too many perspectives, information loops, forecasting outcomes instead of engaging the present. So let's say when it comes to, if we look at this from a seer's archetype, perception is strong. However, perception is being turned inward in a way that freezes motion. So some of you could be over reading a terrain. It's not necessarily that you're blocked from some type of information. It's just more so you're over reading it more. You're just doing too much. And then with a change in the wind clarifying that, a 12 card, and 12 being a number of suspension or the hangman, this is having to do with a change in the wind that brings forth reorientation. Allowing external conditions to shift without you forcing them. Accepting basically an invitation to adjust direction and not push harder. Now, if you're someone resisting that, this is where you exhaust yourself attempting to maintain an angle that is already expired. This is what I mean about self-inflicted fatigue. Because the direction or the winds have already changed. So now your sails are set differently. But if you're going to go against the current, I mean, come on now. Because what's happening next is an inevitable meeting between your awareness and intuition. The way it's showing up here. What's happening next? Yeah. There's a meeting between your awareness and intuition. Basically being pushed out of this essence of being trapped in fear with the Eight of Swords. Where there's a deliberate engagement with your internal knowing without noise. Now, this could be something that is simple for some, but also a challenge for others. And it's the following. Taking action on what you already know without demanding proof first. Taking action it's literally 311. Taking action on what you already know without demanding proof first. Because what makes it a challenge is waiting for certainty, which is actually prolonging the mental trap. The next step is not a grand big old step. It's small. It's small intentional action that is aligned with quiet intuition, which never seeks external validation. Now, with the Five of Pentacles showing up here, in this deck, it's financial and material changes. It's important for this energy to land physically. Because Mercury in Taurus is basically practical thought when it comes to stabilizing money, building something that's tangible, simplifying decisions around resources, that type of thing. Planning here is not abstract. So this inevitable meeting between your awareness and intuition is going to help you with planning that is more tangible and precise. But you must allow clarity to return through contact with the material world. Allowing the fear to dissolve, because when you allow the fear to dissolve, This is where you can naturally connect your attention to what it is you're building, what is sustainable, and what is going to produce value. Those are all energies of Taurus. And with this inevitable meaning between your awareness and intuition, this is why the Five of Pentacles is showing up with it, because it's letting you know that in this next shift here, in regards to what's coming up next, immediately next, it has everything to do with grounding that follows insight. Therefore, with your advice being the Magician in the Mirror, love that, strategy, crown chakra, regeneration. You have the 8 showing up again. Speaking to that trapped in fear here. However, you're now conscious of this. Become more conscious of what that trapped in fear energy is. This is radical self-responsibility. Because with the Magician in the Mirror card 53, this is basically the mirror saying, okay, the mind, your mental state that created this bind is the same mind that directs the outcome. So you choose which direction you're going to go in. It's more about authorship and less about self-blame. Because once you see the pattern, you are no longer inside of it. And then followed by the strategy card with the crown chakra and regeneration. Listen, this is basically saying that in order for there to be completion, you have to go through integration. Because 21 world card energy, strategy card is 21. It has everything to do with closing the arc. Where basically it's not about you, barking on a brand new journey. It's just a final adjustment of one where you are now utilizing your authority. So the strategy here is more so about, no longer reacting and placing that energy that you used to overdo it with reactions, place that energy into more of an intention. Basically, think fewer moves, better placed. Because with the crown chakra activation and regeneration, this is alignment or perspective that is widening enough that fear stops being convincing. A redistribution of life force. This is, that's basically new infrastructures that are being built. There's everything that's going on right now is just so once, you all collective step into Aries season, you can do you. Because this level of transformation or regeneration happens once you release any type of mental constriction. I feel as though some of you get a little confused with the end of a cycle in regards to transformation because you're possibly expecting a much more heightened sense of response or fireworks in a sense. But the truth is, you just become clearer, quieter, and able to move again. Where function returns, that's really regeneration. And on top of that, with the crown and regeneration being card 46, This is really completion feeding a new cycle even, huh? Stability that's following clarity. So what's coming up next here is the ability to stop rehearsing outcomes mentally while engaging in one concrete task to your livelihood or the structure you're building. And allow clarity to come more so from doing instead of predicting. Because the cycle right now does not resolve itself from you thinking more. It'll only resolve through directed participation. So right now, collective, you're going from a space of shifting out of the fear that at one point constricted your perception for real. And now your perception is being corrected. Therefore, action must now anchor the correction into reality. Because you're at the point where movement itself is the message. You're not waiting for the next message. You're at the point where movement itself becomes the message. So, with that being said, let's now look at what's in your environment, the opportunity. What's in the environment? I love to see it. I love to see it. Wisdom, the Hierophant, card 5. With conflict and defeat, another 5. Venus in Aquarius, 5 of Swords in reverse. Come on now. With, let's see, material and spiritual prosperity. So it is 6 of Pentacles. What's in the hopes and fears position here? What's in the hopes and fears position? We have Goddess of the Moon, card 52, okay? And material harvest, Venus and Virgo, 9 of Pentacles. And the outcome, Mercury and Sagittarius, 8 of Wands, accelerated motion. And disruption, the Tower in reverse. With what? What is the Tower in reverse? 6 of Swords, moving on. One more. And there we go. You got balance, the Justice card, number 11, with patience, with 1010 on the clock, card 16, which was also your current energy. All of this is clarifying what it means from the wise one telling you to grow from the current situation. Hold on, y'all. I got to go to the restroom. All right. The vibes is vibing, okay? The vibes is vibing. So, what's in your environment? You got the Hierophant, Five of Swords in reverse, and the Six of Pentacles. This is, yo. This is basically letting you know that the correction is happening around you too, not just inside you. Because the Hierophant showing up is in this position is basically realignment with what is actually true and sustainable after a period of mental conflict. Especially with the double five, the Hierophant and the Five of Swords here. This means that the disruption has already occurred, especially for those of you who are expecting something else to unfold for whatever reason. The argument, tension, or misalignment phase is ending. Interesting. Because this, with the Five of Swords, is basically stepping away from the sense of winning by force or proving a point, with the environment shifting more towards cooperation, maturity, and values. This is why it feels calmer for some of you and unfamiliar. We've been picking up on that energy quite a bit. And the battlefield type of vibes is dissolving. So basically your opportunity in this environment with the Hierophant, the Five of Swords in reverse, and the Six of Pentacles is basically asking you to step into integrity and not reaction, while people and situations are reorganizing around what is genuine. Now with the Six of Pentacles there, this is prosperity through balance. You can look at this as a doorway opening now. Speaking of opening the gate. Because the Six of Pentacles is a vibe of reciprocal flow, equal give and take, fair exchange, aligned support, resources meeting readiness, also known as luck, preparation meeting opportunity. And it's not something that happens suddenly, no. It's more so the beginning of balance, of give and receive after imbalance, where this is more so about something you're meant to participate in and not chase it. So you can ask yourself, where can you engage in equal exchange instead of overextending? Matter of fact, we're going to go straight to the point. Where can they engage in equal exchange instead of overextending? Because that's where prosperity enters. Where can the collective engage in equal exchange instead of overextending? Feeling love and comforted, Mother Earth, while being out in nature, minding your business. Funny. Yeah. This is about you. I'm getting the vibe of you stepping out of the way. And stepping out of the way means connecting with nature, going on your walks, being in this solo solitude, retreating and recharging. So that way you can make yourself available for where you are meant to participate. Okay? Now, what could be causing a push and pull or hopes and fears position? You have the goddess of the moon, right? And Nine of Pentacles come out, 52. Speaking of the message from yesterday, with 52 days, 52 rotations. Nine of Pentacles, Venus and Virgo. This has to do with emotional truth. Stop hoping to trust your intuition and just do it. Okay? Especially if this also inspires and influences you standing fully on your own authority. Because the Nine of Pentacles is a message of self-sustained stability, independence that is earned through discipline. especially with Venus and Virgo. If you have Venus and Virgo, this ties to refinement, daily habits, and self-worth that's built through effort rather than validation. Can you trust yourself enough to stand without leaning on old systems? Can you trust yourself enough to stand without leaning on old systems? Because from this, what I'm seeing is yes, you can, but it's going to require grounded action. Okay, so no need to be in this state of hope and fear. Just know that you can stand, that you can trust yourself to stand without leaning on old systems. And that you have what it takes when it comes to the required continued grounded action to do so. Now, in your outcome, you got a whole lot going on here, but it's a vibe. It's an entire vibe. Not resistant to change in the wind. So, let's start with the Eight of Wands as we see here. Mercury and Sagittarius vibes. The outcome here is that once alignment is accepted, movement has no choice but to accelerate naturally. It's not chaos speed, it's more so clean momentum as the outcome. Conversations moving quickly, decisions are finalizing, paths are opening without strain if you follow through with the way the message here has been delivered to you. Because Sagittarius Mercury is an energy that says clarity drives motion. You don't push this forward, you clear resistance so it can move. You may want to do a deeper study in regards to the kinetic energy of comets. Okay? That way you can align your energy with that in regards to as above, so below, as within, so without. The Tower reverse clarified by the Six of Swords. This means that the upheaval once again has already happened internally. And the Tower reverse is basically letting me know as the outcome, you're going to be moving forward, avoiding unnecessary destruction. With the Six of Swords upright, this is about conscious transition instead of collapse, where you're leaving a mindset and not escaping a crisis. You're just leaving it all behind. You're not escaping it, which is excellent. Which is basically the difference between forcing an ending and moving towards choosing movement or chosen movement. Now you're steering. Now you got your sails in the proper direction, especially with the change in the wind. With justice and this patience card, and the clock here shows 10:10. This is anchoring the entire message because as an outcome, your balance is going to be restored through decisions made calmly, not emotionally. And 10:10 is basically completion repeating itself, where the old cycle has closed twice over at this point. And patience here, once again, is not waiting. It's allowing the new structure to solidify itself before acting prematurely. Once again, a lot going on behind the scenes internally. Infrastructure is being refined. So that way, Aries season, or even now, doesn't have to be Aries season, but Aries ruled by Mars does have to do with taking action more so cleanly. Especially with Saturn there now, it's all about making mature, solid moves. Literally that. Saturn and Aries is on some, all right, grow the fuck up, Aries type of vibes. Grow up. Okay, let's become more mature in our moves here and move cleanly. So it's more of a measured growth and not necessarily a dramatic rebirth in a sense. So, with the wise one saying, grow within the current situation, there's nothing for you to look for anymore in regards to, okay, what is the situation? It's just more so telling you to grow from where you are already. No more disruption required, no more proving required, no more dismantling, none of that shit. Now the work is participate in balanced exchanges and begin to trust more of your cultivated awareness so that way you can move forward steadily when momentum appears. Because remember, you're not stopping mid-race. The gate opens, it's time to go. And let transition happen without dramatizing it. So all in all, collective, your environment is stabilizing. Your material world is beginning to reflect that stabilization. And momentum, you'll notice, arrives once you stop expecting another collapse. Once again, some of you are in here, I can sense where you've been through quite a bit and you looking over your shoulders and shit. You looking to see, okay, what else is going to happen? Stop. It's over with. It's done. Okay? This is the rebuilding phase. Calm, deliberate, and far more powerful than the storm that preceded it. It was just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the clock. Oof. So with that being said, let's grab an animal oracle card to close this. Ooh, the eagle, the unicorn. One more shuffle. The bee. Kangaroo. Stability, come on now. Yes, stability, faith, and determination. You are being guided to take action and think big. That's wild because before coming online, I was thinking of that guy who you see on social media talking about think big, bitch. So take back your power, leap over any obstacles, and build your desires on a solid foundation. Forge ahead without looking back, and create emotional fulfillment while staying grounded, being true to yourself, and having faith in the unknown. Some of you are no longer allowing life to box your ass up. You know there's some great ass boxes now. But listen, y'all, that is your message if you are looking to obtain your personal one-on-one Zoom sessions as of 2/22/2026 at 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The price is going up, but I look forward to working with you all. If anything, click anchor it, and I'll see you on the next live.